Welcome back. You're watching the India Today Mood of the Nation survey, which clearly shows an element of winter of discontent has set in, because if elections were held today, and I'll play those numbers, it would show the NDA down by about 50 seats. From 353 in the Lok Sabha, they come down to 303. So 50 seats decline in the NDA's numbers, but they still remain party number one. Why is that decline setting in? And this may provide a clue. When we asked what are the key issues that are facing the electorate, unemployment, 32% said unemployment is the number one issue that troubles them. Farmers' distress, 15%, price rise, 14%, corruption, 12%, economic slowdown, 10%. Current state of the economy. How is the current state of the economy? No reason to worry was 29%. Growing but at a slower pace, said 32. Not growing at all, 18. Sliding down, 10. Effectively, 60% are admitting that the economy is in some kind of a slowdown at the moment. How has Nirmala Sitharaman, all set to deliver a budget on the 1st of February, done? 39% said did a good job. Failed to contain slowdown was 30%. Give her more time was 16%. Can't say was 15%. So clearly Nirmala Sitharaman not doing as badly as some of the pessimists may point out in our economic papers. Remember, this is a general survey done across the country, a sample size of more than 12,000 people across 194 assembly constituencies. What about the 5 trillion economy promise of the Prime Minister by 2025? Yes, say 42%, no, say 34%, can't say is 24%. Rajiv Dubey of Business Today, their managing editor, now joins us. Rajiv, give us your first sense, because you've been for the longest time saying it is the economy which is the critical issue. Do these numbers give the Modi government some hope, or do they only suggest that the economy is the Achilles heel at the moment?
The economy is seriously one of the biggest problems, biggest crises that the Modi government is facing. If you look at the primary issue that the people surveyed have said unemployment. Now, in the period that the Modi government started documenting employment from September of 17 till now, we've created about 13.9 million jobs. The unemployed, according to CMI today, even after all this, is about 33 million. So the crisis is far 3 times the number of jobs that are required. Only about 1/3 have been created. Farmer distress is even more fascinating. You have agriculture tax. There is no tax on agriculture, right? Power is free, water is free, fertilizers are subsidized, seeds are subsidized, implements are subsidized, and you have MSP, and yet you have 12,500 farmers committing suicide every day by most conservative estimates. Actually, the numbers would be far more serious. And price rise in the past 2 years has been past 1 year. In fact, since the beginning of this year, has gone past the 4% mark, especially in onion, potato, and ginger.
But yet 42% are saying the 5 trillion economy dream is alive. So the hope still lives on. Nirmala Sitharaman, no one is writing her off in the survey. I'm looking at the survey data. Yes, more than 60% are saying they're worried that there is a slowdown.
Yes.
And yet they're not giving up on this government just yet.
So remember, Nirmala Sitharaman has got 30% for 36% for people who think that she's doing a good job, but about 46% are saying that she has done terribly, or she needs more time. So there is that element as well.
How should we interpret these numbers on the economy? Is the glass increasingly half, the dream being spun, than the reality on the ground, which seems very, which is very different?
I think the Modi government should be extremely worried by the outcome of these particular set of questions, because the big three are confronting it: farmers' distress, price rise, unemployment, jobs. Now, if one had to interpret what he needs to do, clearly what he did in the first 6 months was focus on, as we had mentioned earlier, the Hindutva agenda, whether it was Article 370, whether it was CAA. But even though he tried his best to shore up the economy, that has not worked with the kind of GDP results that we're getting. So the big message here is, look, It's time you got down to doing what you were elected for. That is, set the economy right. That's what you promised. You had promised Achay Din in 2014. You are still not delivering on that fundamental promise. I'd also like to make another point, Rajdeep, on this, is that every time, you know, we had this in the, when we discussed the numbers, it was said, well, they're pushing the agenda, they've got the numbers, the mandate was for that. Let's not forget, if you look at history, that whenever the BJP tried to push the Hindutva agenda alone, it never crossed 200 seats. Whether Mr. Advani. But the moment Mr. Modi came on the scene and he combined it with economic development, with jobs, with clean governance, the numbers moved to 282 to 303.
You know, the question...
So therefore, it's very important that he focuses on what he was elected for primarily.
You believe he was elected on the economy. There will be those who will say that these numbers were much the same even in January 2019. Then also agrarian distress, the economy, and we'll put up numbers about how farmers perceive this government. Again, there's a sense that almost half the number of farmers polled are worried that the government has not done enough for them. All these numbers were there even in January 2019, yet the Modi government won an overwhelming majority. So does the economy really matter when it comes to electability?
There was a intervening variable called Pulwama. The economy does matter. Let me give you some headline figures on what I'm quite sure the survey may not have captured, the farmer distress. And these are figures coming from Bid, which is unfortunately the suicide capital headquarter of India or of Marathwada region. Here, agricultural laboring women have said that earlier where they got 6 months of jobs, they are getting barely 1 month of job for agricultural laborer. Now, what do? They in turn go to the Mukaddam, who is the sugarcane plantation chief. They go to the factories as bonded labor, take advances. So what it has created is that there may be suicides, the male earning member exits the family for dear life as the only rational option. So there is a sad script, and let the Antyodaya or Deen Dayal Upadhyay model of BJP take over, it would really set a base towards the bottom of the pyramid.
No, but my point is all these numbers, Rahul, were all there even a year ago. Manisha is saying Pulwama happened, changed the elections. I'm asking, does Mr. Modi need to really change the narrative? Is that the challenge? Because there is the narrative of the economic slowdown, there's the narrative of disquiet over CAA, but he still is getting, or the BJP is still getting more than 270 seats and 300 to the NDA. Does he need to change the narrative? Should he be worried?
As a politician, yes, of course, because he should be targeting more than 300 or 350, right? See, the point, I think what the mistake, and I may be wrong in saying this, the mistake we are making is democracy, constitutionalism, idea of India on notice. Is it under stress? Yes, it is. The survey is clearly showing that Indians show compassion for their fellow citizens. But does that mean that is their top priority when they are going to vote? They're concerned about their individual economic situation. But does that what drives their voting choices? And something like which is in this survey, they are hopeful about their economic future. Who are they associating this hope with? Is it Modi or is it opposition?
Because, that's the thing. Modi still seems to retain an element of trust. Let's look at this.
But what is this trust about? What is this trust about? Is it how he looks or what he talks?
Look at these numbers. We asked the question, economic performance of the Modi government. 49% in our survey have said it was better than UPA. 28% said it was worse than UPA. 13% said it's the same. Now, in August 2019, when we conducted our last survey, 60% had said it was better than UPA. So that 60% has come down to 49%. Will the government generate jobs? 47% said yes, the government will generate jobs. 34% said no, can't say was 19%. Soaring prices, do they indicate a bad economy? 62% have said yes. No was 28%, can't say was 10%. Again, more than 45% farmers are saying that they at the moment are worried about their future as well. What about your experience with GST? Again, we are finding that in general, 28% in August 2019 said it has improved. Now that's down to 22% in Jan 2020. I'm just wondering, Rahul Srivastav, people may be worried about the economic slowdown, but are not directly blaming Mr. Modi for it. They're not saying Mr. Modi is responsible for the slowdown yet.
So who are they
I think
blaming? Rahul
Razib-
Gandhi?
No,
If Modi is not responsible, then is Rahul Gandhi
So you
or Nitish Kumar
you
or
explained,
Mamata Banerjee?
you explained
who's
to me,
responsible
Javed
for it?
Ansari, 68% are saying the Prime Minister's performance is outstanding and good. 60% are worried about the economic slowdown, but 68% are giving a thumbs up to Modi's popularity. You please explain it to me.
No,
Why
no.
is this?
No, this is an answer that I want from the pollsters because I find this is a contradiction in terms. Who are
Javed.
they blaming this downfall in the economy to?
Razib-
Surely it's not Rahul Gandhi who's responsible.
Razib, I have
Yes.
a take on this, and I think when I look at these data generated by Raj, I think this is the kind of impression that a reporter gets on the ground, very close to that. Why I say that? When you say Nirmala has not done badly, 39%, but people are also saying 62% that rising prices are a sign of bad economy. So 62% are saying something wrong with the economy. Rajdeep, this survey is very good because what it's saying, it's warning the government on several counts. I'll say how. It's saying injustice to Muslims are justified in feeling insecure. Sagacity of the public, they're understanding that there is insecurity. They're also effectually saying at one time it was being said about Sitaram Kesri that was an old man in a hurry. I think what the public is telling Mr. Modi that a bearded man in a hurry for the agenda of the RSS and others.
Who's the bearded man, Modi or Shah?
Mr. Modi.
No, let's
There
be
is
very clear.
Mr. Modi.
One of the
Razib,
big-
let me,
in a hurry.
Razib, I would like to finish this point. And the public is saying, we like what you are doing, but we want something else. There is a difference line. The public is sending a very clear signal. You are doing things which we like sometimes, but you are not delivering on what we want.
No, explain to me that old American saying, it's the economy stupid. 60% are saying there's an economic slowdown. 62% are worried about rising prices. Now, in normal times, this would result in a much greater backlash against the government.
Yes.
We are not seeing that. We are seeing a 3 to 4% decline in the government's popularity, while Mr. Modi's popularity remains reasonably high at 68%.
Because we are not living in a normal
one reason,
time.
Rajdeep, I think, is that everyone realizes the economy is going bad not only because of Mr. Modi. After all, onion prices increasing can't directly be blamed on Mr. Modi. I think that common sense people have.
but there were
so
enough-
the point is,
Yes.
the popularity is not going down because many of them see him to bring that $5 trillion economy. He is the hope that can turn around
So is
this
it-
economic crisis.
is-
But at the same, many of
Is it
them...
also a lack of trust on the other side? Look, we asked the direct question, whose performance is better? It's not as if they're saying that we had before 2014 a government that they believed was much better than that of Mr. Modi. So even while they are worried about their present, it's not as if the past is being seen by them in some kind of nostalgic terms. Let's go back to the opposition. And as we've seen, Rajiv, Indian elections are presidential. People are choosing between two options. They're not yet rejecting the Modi. There's disquiet. There isn't anger. Would I be right in saying that?
And that's precisely, the reason why this is very, very evident is that if you look at the crisis in the economy, it's been there for 6 quarters. It was very clear at the beginning of 2019 that we are heading into a very, very deep slowdown, and it continued. The deceleration continues till now. The issue of price rise, the onion. That the fact that onion prices are rising has been indicated within the government multiple times that it's going to rise. It's going beyond the rates that should be prevailing in the market. But we did not import onion when they were required to be imported. So obviously, despite all this, if the people surveyed think that think that this is a decent job by the government, it's clearly that they don't see another better option available.
Is that therefore when you made that cover and said there's an uneasy feeling now about this government? Are we suggesting that this government, as some are saying, has been put on notice that after the honeymoon of Lok Sabha, we've given you a second big majority, we expect more? Is it that, or is there a sense that actually the government, as you've been saying repeatedly on today's show, is not focusing on the priorities. These are not the... You believe that economy was why they voted for Mr. Modi, or Achhe Din. Achhe Din have not come if 60% are saying there's an economic slowdown. So
And
how are we to see
combination.
this? Is the government on notice?
Of course it is. And Rajdeep, let's not forget that even on one of the economic questions, the results show that they believe that the UPA government, you know, it's actually dropped below, that Mr. Modi's government's performance on the economy is comparable to the UPA. And he won the election saying the UPA's government handling of the economy was extremely poor. Let's also take a look at the whole range of questions that this Mood of the Nation poll addresses. And if you go down that carefully, you will see a very nuanced thing for us to say why that this is, you know, a feeling, the uneasy feeling that he should have. Because one, the numbers are down. Two, the opposition has regrouped. Three, we are seeing widespread protests across the country with regard to CAA and NRC. Four, the economy is tanking. If all these things are not serious signs, then this government is, you know, if it thinks it can push through a Hindutva agenda and win the day, it's mistaken. What the good thing for Mr. Modi, let's put it this way, Rajdeep, is that it has come early in his term.
He's got 4.5 years.
He's got 4.5 years. If he course corrects now, puts his entire government behind the economy and says, that's my priority number one, things could vastly improve.
But at the same time, we've seen in the last 2 years, the BJP, which controlled 71% of the landmass in terms of states, now coming down to 37%. Is that also putting the center on notice that Mr. Modi's personal popularity alone cannot pull up the BJP any longer? Whether it's in Jharkhand, whether it's in Haryana, to some extent in Maharashtra and possibly in Delhi next month, not enough to rely on the Prime Minister without empowering local leaders. That's going to be another big issue for Mr. Modi going ahead.
My understanding is that people want performing governments at two levels for themselves. They want very efficient state governments to deliver on certain issues, and they are distinguishing for the central government to deliver on certain other issues. And I think clearly the last 6 months, whatever you say, it's been monosyllable. Really everything coming out of the Home Ministry, nothing really coming out of the infrastructure ministries, the other ministries. So clearly he will have to show that his government is multidimensional. The center does something for the people directly, which is not simply about law and order, which is not simply about minimalism, that governance, that Vikasvad, that magic, 4.5 years to go, he's got to pull it out of his hat.
Has he, so is it as I said about changing the narrative? You pushed with your political ideological agenda for the last 7 months. It's got you traction, but it's also polarized public opinion. Now is the time to focus on the bread and butter issue, the economy. Get it back on track. Get it back to 6-7%. Mr. Modi's popularity will rise even further.
Look, he's expanded with his ideological agenda.
Has he expanded, you think? There are those who believe coming up in a few months is the Uniform Civil Code. There's the Ram Mandir to be built.
No, I mean, Ram Mandir is now a given. Everybody across the land accepts it, that it's a reality. So I do believe that a large part of his ideological agenda is over. Now the flip side is that he has no excuses. He has to deliver. The farmers if the farming sector is in distress, the economy is in a tailspin, the youth are upset and angry, and all this put together, there is no final word in politics. Last time you had interrupted me from completing, so permit me this time. I'll give you the example of Rajiv Gandhi. When in 84, after he came back with 400 seats, we were all writing obituaries of the opposition. Much the same scenario prevailed. There was no opposition inside. Suddenly things started happening. Here, there are a lot of warning signals. It's now the ball is in Mr. Modi's court. Either he addresses them, or who knows, politics abhors a vacuum, somebody will emerge. If not from this bunch of opposition leaders, somebody might just emerge. There might be a VP Singh kind of character who will just come and all put it together.
At the end of the day, Rahul Srivastava, very quickly, you track the BJP. They look at this Mood of the Nation survey. Will they be feeling a little discomforted by it? Do you genuinely believe there's an element of discomfiture? Because you never see it in the Modi-Shah juggernaut. It appears that they have no element of self-doubt. Is an element of self-doubt creeping in for the first time since we've been polling Mr. Modi in 2014?
Razip, somewhere the fact that Modi might be the most favorite political son, but somewhere some elements are like hurting the BJP. That message has gone in. Jharkhand has been a setback where the BJP has realized that allies are an issue. And suddenly you see that JDU and LGB being given seats in Delhi. And you find that Nitish Kumar standing against Pawan Verma. These are some signs, minor signs that BJP is worried. The budget is being talked about in a very different manner. Maybe some things are coming. But the fact is, I think the BJP's real worry is the communal angle to its constant communal angle to its politics is actually is
it not to its benefit? I thought
not.
the BJP benefits from polarization.
I think the survey is saying something else. It's saying that
People are tiring
it's like
of
a
the
grating
polarization.
noise which people are tiring.
Okay, very quickly, do or die budget.
Definitely, but what will you do? The question is, with 2.5 lakh crore of deficit as far as the earnings are concerned, options limited in terms of spending into the economy from on infrastructure front, public expenditure cut down substantially. Where are the options? The options are very, very limited.
I've got 30 seconds to you. Your cover was that uneasy feeling. The Prime Minister with both his hands on his head. What will your cover, you believe, be 7 months from now in August of 2020? What is it, according to you, Raj Chenkappa, that is now priority number one? It is the economy. It's getting that the economy back on track. Will that resolve the ideological debates that are still carrying on?
Two things.
Or will that be only background noise?
Two things. Economy, and let's repeat it thrice, economy. And second, he must understand, Mr. Modi and his government must understand, nationalism has its limits. Religion does not feed your stomach. The economy does. Without that, nothing will work.
Okay, we leave it at that. The fact is, the economy now, it appears, could well be the Prime Minister's Achilles heel. The disquiet exists. It hasn't translated as yet into anger. To that extent, the government is still very much in control, but it is being put on notice. Thank you all very much for joining us on the Mood of the Nation survey. All the details available in the India Today magazine, or you can go to our website and find out much more. From the entire team, thanks for watching. Jai Hind.